So as you can see, I'm just using the Alpha Pounce wheel, Griffold Pounce wheel, this one is. This is really handy if you're out on a site, on a job site. I've only ever used an electro pounce once, to be honest. They actually scare me because they're quite terrifying, but I know a lot of people have great success with them, and that's cool. But I just find this little tool is so handy to have in your toolbox, particularly if you're just wanting to quickly do up a layout on site. You can draw something up, and if you have a piece of this foam in your truck or your van or whatever. The other thing you can use is a bit of cheaper styrene foam, the thin stuff that you get in packaging. That's always handy. I always keep a little bit of that just inside my toolbox as well. As you can see, I've used it quite well. This will give you a bigger hole by using foam. So the pressure that you put on, which means that the wheel will actually go through the paper quite easily when you put it on the foam. The other thing is you can use card or a cutting mat. A cutting mat will give you a smaller hole. You have to push a little bit harder, but it won't give you as deep a hole with the wheel, which also helps too with finer stuff, particularly when you're doing glass, because you don't want to have too much powder come through from your Pounce pattern onto the surface. So all I do, as I said, I've already marked the letter out on the front of the Pounce pattern, and then I've gone over it with a felt pen or a Sharpie, and I've turned it over onto the back. And this is what we used to do here. And then you actually just pounce, because the felt pen has allowed you to see the lettering on the back of the paper, you can then follow the lines quite easily around. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on the paper, but as you can see, the foam makes it quite easy for you to push that little wheel through and create the pounce as such. So once that's pounced, so the holes, because I've pounced from the back, you're actually pushing the holes through to the front. So when I turn the paper over, hopefully you can kind of see, if I can put, maybe I'll put a light behind it. If I put a light behind that, can you see that there's holes? The holes have opened up. So actually the holes are now sitting on the front, and you can see that they're sitting quite raised on the front of the Pounce pattern, which means that when you actually then lay the Pounce pattern onto the surface, I'll just get rid of this foam. If I was to lay that on there and get some charcoal, which I have here, yep, to then pounce the Pounce. So then by rubbing over using your charcoal or your chalk or your Pounce bag, you just rub like that. I haven't had to open up the holes with a with sandpaper, and then we rub over with a rag and then just lightly pounce as well. That's if you're using a piece of charcoal and your impression has gone through. Sorry, I moved that Pounce pattern as I did that. So I'll just demonstrate that again, and you can reuse it again and again. So again, if I was to rub that like so, it has traced it through without rubbing it, but if you want a slightly deeper impression, you can do that, and there's your Pounce transferred through to the surface without having to sand the paper back. As I said, sanding works. I just find sometimes, particularly if you're out on site or if the paper gets a bit damp, when you're trying to sand the holes back from the back of the pattern, it can tend to tear up your pattern. So that's just my little tip for today. See you guys. Bye.